So I know October is spooky season and all, and I even put orange in my thumbnail, but I'm not going to take part this year. Oh, the horror. Hey everyone, welcome to my October TBR. I'm going to share with you the 5 books I plan on reading this month, and then 3 that are on the MBR, the maybe I might read these this month, who knows. I started going with this model last month, and I've really liked having a little bit of flexibility, although truth be told, I got behind schedule last month and didn't finish last month's TBR, so I didn't have any flexibility anyway. But I picked 4 of my books on the TBR, and I had Kyle from Read by Kyle pick the 5th book. Kyle's one of the most well-read people I know, and it seems like our tastes align probably 4 out of every 5 books, so I figured he would give me a great recommendation. So I'm excited to share with you what he's picked for me this month. Let's go ahead and start with one book that I didn't finish last month. This is actually the book that was picked for me in my September TBR by Peter from P English Literature, and that's Fae or Foe. And this book, I just ran out of time. If September were 31 days, I would have finished it in time, but it isn't, so I'm a little bit behind. I'm reading it right now and enjoying it. It's kind of a work of low fantasy with fairies and trolls and things like that. Has a younger protagonist, reads a little younger, but the ratings in this book are remarkable. It's like a 4.9 rating on Goodreads, and there's a lot of reviews, so everybody's just really loving this self-published work. So I'm looking forward to finally finishing this one, even though it was supposed to be on my September TBR. It is the first one that I will read this month. Another book that I plan on reading in October is something that was on the MBR portion of last month's video, and that's called The Art of Possibility. This is written by Benjamin Zander and his wife, and Ben Zander has my favorite TED Talk. He's a musician, he's an orchestral conductor like me, and he gave a TED Talk that's kind of about this topic, Art of Possibility. The TED Talk, I'll try to remember to link it below, is called The Transformative Power of Classical Music. And essentially, what I think this book is about is looking at, instead of life's obstacles, looking at them as possibilities. And I always try to read something that's in kind of the inspirational vein as I embark upon a new school year. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. I'm a little late in giving myself that inspiration, but I plan on reading this one sometime early in October. So for my 3rd book this month I'll talk about, Kyle's going to talk about. So Kyle, what am I going to be reading this month?
Hey Josh, it's Kyle. Thank you so much for allowing me to choose a book for your TBR this month. I put a lot of thought into it, and I wanted to choose something that I thought you would obviously really like. And it was a little difficult because a lot of the books that I would normally choose for somebody, you've already read, which is a good thing because then I have a better idea of what books you would like to read. But it makes it harder to go down the list of books that I would like to choose. And the book that I chose, I think you're really going to like. Because you and I have been reading a lot of like Asian-inspired stuff recently. We both read Shogun and Taipan recently, and both really liked those. And then now we're also doing the Janny Wirtz and Raymond Feist trilogy, Daughter of the Empire, and we're really, really liking both of those. I believe you said it was one of your favorite trilogies of all time now. And so I'm choosing Ken Liu's The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories for you. It's not that long. It has a lot of variety in it, so you can kind of pick it up and do whatever you need throughout the month. And it has a lot of different styles of stories where the prose is really good, the characterization is really good, the emotions are really high. But you're also learning a lot about cultural differences in cultural history. There's a lot of different Asian representation, mostly China, but not always. You learn a lot about different aspects of history, plus there's some sci-fi in there, there's some magical realism. I just feel like it's a really strong collection that really gives you a good idea of what Ken Liu is capable of. And hopefully, if you really like it, then I can get you to read Dandelion Dynasty quicker, which is my ultimate goal. So, yeah, I hope you really like it, and thanks for thinking of me.
Thank you, Kyle, for picking The Paper Menagerie. I'm really excited to read this. I've heard nothing but absolute universal high praise for this book. I've heard people talk about some of the short stories made them cry, and that Ken Liu's writing style is just superb. I haven't read anything by him. I've not read the Dandelion Dynasty yet, so this is a great introduction to him. So thank you, Kyle, for picking this for me. I will be starting this one on the 1st of the month. Up next is a buddy read, and this is some Guy Gavriel Kay. I'm going to be reading Under Heaven. And Jake Bishop reached out to me and a few others to do a buddy read for this book. And I immediately said yes. I read The Lions of Al Rasan a few months ago, and it's easily a top 5 book of the year for me. I really loved Kay's writing style. I love this almost fusion of my two favorite genres of fantasy and historical fiction, because he's always known as the guy that writes kind of historical fantasies. And it's looks interesting to me. It's kind of a Eastern setting. It's based off the Tang Dynasty in China. And this is actually, I think, a duology, because we're going to be reading Under Heaven in October, and then November we're going to read River of Stars, which is the sequel or pairing. I'm not sure exactly how it fits together. I'm at the point now where I've stopped reading like cover blurbs and things like that, because I don't want things ruined for me. But it's GGK. I want to read more GGK. Jake said, let's read some GGK. I said, I am in. So I'm very much looking forward to reading Under Heaven in October. And the final book on the TBR this October is The Prophet of Edan by Philip Chase. I've been putting this one off. I really enjoyed the first book that I read back. I think I read it in March or April, pretty soon after it came out. And I've been waiting until all 3 books were released to read the last 2 installments. So the plan is to read Prophet of Edan kind of at the end of October, and then read Return of Edan early November, to try to read them almost back to back. But I'm really looking forward to this. I love Chase's world building in this book, and I really love the polished writing style. It just felt like a very self-assured writer, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where the story goes. I've stayed away from reviews, but I have heard just that the story goes a very different direction right away, and I'm all for that, just to see where Chase takes us in this story. So definitely looking forward to probably closing my month with The Prophet of Edan. All right, on to the MBR portion of the month. Now listen, October is a very busy month for me. I have 3 weekend events, so kind of 6-day work weeks. I have several evening events. I have 1 road trip to Houston. There's just a lot going on in October for me. So to be honest, I'm not confident that I get past the 5 books on the TBR this month. We'll see how it goes, but the MBR ones, with that in mind, I literally picked the 3 books on my physical TBR that have the shortest page count. Starting with A Face in the Crowd by Stephen King and Stuart Onan. I suspect that I read this electronic version. This is the first time it was in hardcover, and you know me and my Stephen King, I have to have all the hardcovers if I can find them. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. This clocks in at about 60 pages, so kind of an hour of work. I might be able to fit this in at the end of the month if I do finish my TBR. And the cool thing is my second selection this month is right on the back. This is one of these, and it is flipped. When you read it, the words are face up this way, and they're face up this way for the Stephen King book. But this is The Longest December by Richard Chizmar. If you know the name Chizmar, he co-wrote the Gwendy trilogy with Stephen King. King and Chizmar wrote the first and third books together, and then Chizmar wrote the second book by himself. I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan of that second book, but I have heard that Chizmar is a much more assured writer in the short form. So this being kind of novelette to novella length, I think it's around 80 or 90 pages, maybe this one will work for me. But it is pretty short, so probably a pretty quick read if I have time for this one. And the final book I'm going to put on the MBR portion of this month is Conan the Defender by Robert Jordan. This is part of the omnibus of the Conan Chronicles. There are 3 novels in here. I've read the first one. The second one, Conan the Defender, is about, 160 pages or so. So another short one that if I do get ahead because of this busy month, I might be able to squeeze in some of these shorter reads. Or maybe I'll surprise myself and I'll be able to throw another chunker in there. Who knows? That's why it's an MBR. It might be read this month. If anything, you'll get to see a little snapshot of some of the things on my physical TBR as I use this TBR model going forward. So I'm looking forward to a great month in October. What are you planning on reading this month? Are you doing spooky season? I'm not, but I'd love to hear what you might be reading this month. And if you've read any of these books that I talked about in a spoiler-free manner, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them, whether you love them, what I can expect, that kind of thing. I always love talking to you about the books, even if I haven't read them yet. Once again, I want to thank Kyle from Read by Kyle for picking The Paper Menagerie for me. I have been reading more short stories this year, and I'm really looking forward to these ones. So thank you for picking that for me, Kyle. If you don't know Kyle's channel, I will link it below, so give him a sub and check out some of his past work. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter and Goodreads. I'd love to interact with you there. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.